Call the meeting of the Waco City Council on January 20th, 2026 to order at 3:02 p.m. Welcome to the work session of the Waco City Council, and welcome to all the people gathered in the Bosque Theater Gallery in beautiful downtown Waco. Got a good crowd here today. Welcome to all the viewers at home watching on the Waco City Cable Channel. And thank you, everybody, for joining us here today at the work session of the council. I'm Mayor Jim Holmes, and I'm joined on the dais here today by our council members, Isabel Lozano from District 2, Josh Bordered from District 3, Darius Ewing from District 4, George Chase from District 5, and our Mayor Pro Tem, Andrea Bearfield. Also joined on the adjacent dais over there by our senior city staff, our city manager, Bradley Ford, our city attorney, Kristen Hamilton-Karam, and last but certainly not least, our city secretary, Michelle Hicks, is right there on the end. We're going to start the meeting today with a moment of silence. The first item of business on the agenda today is the recognition of work session speakers. Is anyone present who'd like to speak on a work session agenda item? Michelle, do we have any cards?
We do not have any registered speakers.
No cards. Is anybody out there who'd like to speak on a work session agenda today? There being none and seeing none, we will now recess the regular session and convene into work session with a report from our city manager, Bradley Ford.
Thanks, Mayor, and good afternoon to everybody watching here and online. It's going to be a good meeting. We don't have any changes to the agenda today, but I do have a couple of employee recognitions. First, I want to start off by recognizing a new team member. We just recently hired Donna Holbrook in our Destination Waco office, and that's a name that probably some of you are familiar with. She has spent a couple of decades, really, in hotel sales and operations, with much of that time being spent in our market here around Waco. She's area director of sales as well as a regional director of operations, overseeing hotel properties in Waco as well as in Dallas-Fort Worth. Super excited to bring her onto the team and all of her industry knowledge. I think it's going to be very helpful as we attempt to grow Waco's convention and tourism market. So Donna, if you don't mind standing up and saying hi to everybody. Yeah, welcome, Donna. And I think, won't surprise anybody that I'd love to say some thank yous after last Friday's event at the Steam Center. What a day. I mean, yeah, the pictures are amazing. They don't quite do it justice, though. We're super proud of what is the launch of a transformational project here in Waco, and the future impact is going to be amazing. So I wanted to say some special thanks to the city team that made that possible for the event. Certainly, starting from the top, Deidre, Deputy City Manager Emerson, just well executed. The vision from Mayor Pro Tem and the council showed a tremendous leadership on the project. Roberto Zapata and our Library and Culture Enrichment Department and the rest of the team there for taking on oversight of the facility. Monica's team and comms, I mean, the branding throughout this facility and the preparations and all the way down to the swag we gave out and the mascot is just really well done. Of course, the lasting image of the pyrotechnics off the building isn't bad either.
Yes.
Derek Goldman, facilities team, on time, on budget. We got that done on this project, but it's kind of becoming the calling card in his other work as well. So super proud of the facilities team. Mike Seawright and the IT team did a really fine job of working hand in hand with Cisco. If you walked through and did the tours, you see a building that is next level on technology, and that didn't happen without the work of Mike's team. And last but not least, but Parks, the special events staff worked really hard to make that a special day. Make sure that everything in the park adjacent, as well as the grounds, were in immaculate condition. So just want to say how proud our city manager's office team was to support that event, and looking forward to seeing that Steam Center come to life in early February. So if y'all don't mind saying a thanks to the team that made that happen.
I think there's going to be some follow-up comments here. Because most of us, virtually all of us were there that day. And if anybody wants to comment.
We'll excuse George for this one
George?
time.
Yeah, George is gonna have to look at the
I told them
pictures.
to bring the cutout, but they didn't, so.
I did get a special tour.
Absolutely, you did. I don't know how many more times and ways I can say thank you, but I am peacock proud if you didn't know. This has been a project that we've been working on for a very, very long time, and it came to fruition in a way that if I had written the script myself, it wouldn't be any better. Thank you to the comms team for everything that you did. I know y'all were in there blowing up balloons and stuff the day before, bless your hearts. Certainly Parks and Rec, certainly the Library and Cultural Enrichment, certainly our city management staff, certainly making sure that we had all the rules and regs with the doors open so we didn't break fire code. Thanks, Robbie. We appreciate it, but it was more people. I just couldn't even imagine it. So I'm grateful to my council for standing with me in this process and believing in this vision and helping us to see it through and make it a reality. We all know the accolades and certain praise that is deserved to Deidre Emerson, our deputy city manager, who walked this program with me from start to finish and oversaw the execution of all of this. And shout out to Thomas and them for like NASCAR style pyrotechnics, because they said the word pyrotechnic. I was like, it's daytime. Because see, when we talked about, this was a long time ago, we talked, what about drones? We did the 1975 anniversary, 175 years anniversary, and they were like, no, those are too expensive. And so I said, okay, and I left it alone. And then I got NASCAR pyrotechnics. Absolutely perfect. So I'm thankful. Shush.
Yeah, I'll just second shout out to the bay doors being open to allow for fire code, because we certainly would have been exceeding max capacity for that room, which was so special to be there and see. I think when these things are being ideated and worked on and we're getting updates, we get really excited for them, and we know and we can see the vision, and you don't always know what it's going to be like when the community gets, because once you put it out there, it doesn't belong to you anymore.
That's right.
So you never know what the community's response is going to be. And so just to be there on Friday and see that many people be that excited and bring their kids and their families, and then you're doing a tour at the end and they're just running around.
Have you driven by the playground?
It's been crazy. Packed.
Every day.
I haven't been yet because it's been so packed. And it's still high flu season, so we're waiting that one out. But
walls like them.
it was, but it was incredible. And thanks beyond thanks to all who put in so much time and effort. And if you've been by, you can see that there's not a single detail in that building that was not meticulously thought through and sourced and done in a way to honor the past while seeking to enrich our future. And so I'm so grateful again to Deidre for the effort and sort of shepherding this through from an administrative and staff perspective, from when Councilmember Barefield had the idea to Friday when we had the pyrotechnics and cut the ribbon. And Mayor Pro Tem Barefield, thank you for when council members have these bright ideas, it's really easy for staff to say, that's so great, thank you. Thank you for your suggestion, because that is something that we're not gonna be able to afford, and you can keep dreaming about it, and I'm sure it will look really pretty on paper. But for you to have this in your mind and in your heart and push for it and be proactive in making sure that, hey, if we have an opportunity to get money for this, it doesn't come out of our own pockets, let's spend it, let's be creative, let's be strategic, and let's get this thing done, and to keep banging the drum for that until we get to what we had on Friday. It's so special. I cannot wait to go back and experience it again and again and again. So thanks to everyone, and if you have not been, stop by sometime after they open officially February 2nd, because it's a sight worth seeing.
I'll add my voice to the chorus and maybe contribute a new verse, but I will say thank you so much to our Mayor Pro Tem for this wonderful idea, well executed by our Deputy City Manager, Deidre Emerson. It was such a triumphal, joyous day and a new dawn for our city in terms of this type of programming. I'm so excited. Our comms team put on a wonderful event, as they said. our library programming this out hand in hand with Transformation Waco. I think the possibilities here are endless. What this says about our community, the transformation and the investment that we've seen east of the river. If you look at Bridge Street Plaza, if you look at our suspension bridge, if you look at this new Bledsoe Miller Steam Center and the Doris Miller Community Center with our Doris Miller Pool, the reconstructed Elm, you could see the level of investment that this city, under our city manager Bradley Ford and this great city management team, under the direction and policy guidance of our mayors and our Mayor Pro Tem Bearfield have just done. And it has just been a generational lift and a generational transforming of this public space. And I am so grateful to have been an infinitesimal part of it. And it is just a great day for Waco. So thanks to all the staff. Y'all made us so proud in executing this vision. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
I can't really add much more. I'll try to put one more verse into it, though, because you guys have all explained and if you weren't there Friday, I mean, you missed one of the coolest events that we've had in the history of the city. Standing room only crowd, and it was so many different parts of it: the balloons, the fireworks, the playground, the ribbon cutting, the agenda, just well executed, as City Manager Ford mentioned. And the energy behind this and the organization, again, as everybody said, the Mayor Pro Tem Bearfield and Deputy City Manager Deidre Emerson, it really just brought our ideas to life in a big, big way. A cool agenda, and some of the maybe the parts you didn't see that touched me is that as Mayor Pro Tem Bearfield was reading parts of her speech, she was reading from her mom's notebook, which was so cool. Our former mayor, Mae Jackson, which just put a cool touch on your presentation. It started out that morning, that morning with Josh going down the playground slide. He climbed to the top of that thing and went down the slide. And it was a fun morning for everybody. And I'm super excited about the activation of this because it looks great. We had a great grand opening, and we've got so many, just the activation of it in the day-to-day, already people hanging out there. And just, y'all need to go through it because the artwork on the walls is fantastic. What's going on in all these different classrooms is just incredible. And I just look forward to this being a very important part of the Waco community, from K to Gray, as Deputy City Manager Emerson always says, for everybody in the community. So looking forward for this STEAM Center to take off. Is there anything else to talk about today? We got.
It's hard to follow that up, but I'm going to try with two informal reports.
Okay.
That's a pretty big letdown.
Oh, before City Manager Ford, before you get around, I know this up here on the dais, you could tell that we had some very important people walk into the meeting or sitting in the front 2 rows. These are the Midway High Junior ROTC group, the officer training group, and they're here to study our legal governance, or local governance. Is that right, guys?
Very cool. Well,
I appreciate you being here.
Keep it tight today, Mary. No freestyle.
So far, you see all the great things that are happening in the city. Even more stuff is going to be talked about today. So
Mayor, I think they're going to see some good governance modeled up here, but they're also going to see some things not to do. I think that'll be a part of it today. There'll be a mixed bag up here today.
it's all part of the learning process.
Well said.
All right, City Manager Ford, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, we do have two informal reports on the agenda, Council. IR 2026-002 outlines 3 housing developments seeking resolutions of support for the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs Housing Tax Credit Program. This is a process that you undertake each year, and we have a policy, and the IR attempts to provide you information you need to help in a future discussion on those resolutions of support. Be happy to take any questions at which time you have them. We also have informal report 003, which outlines a $3.3 million federal funding award for our Neighborhood Safe Routes to School project, very exciting, as well as a $1.2 million award for Highway Safety Improvement Program project all along Sanger Avenue. So excited about both of those. We do have 3 public hearings on the
I'll just have one comment on that second informal report in particular. Both of them were well-written. And on the first one, the housing tax credit programs, we'll hear more from that. Director Price on that in the next meeting, right? And again, I always say that Director Price, I don't know if you're here today, but I like how there you are. You've made this very easy for council to navigate. It didn't used to be that way, so I appreciate that. The second informal report, we talk about streets and water lines and wastewater lines and all the infrastructure that we need to build. This informal report is primarily about sidewalks and the funding that we get, and we look for two good stories. One of them is just how the city is spending money and committing to better sidewalks, and we are accessing TxDOT programs where we can get some state funding to match our own funding in the city and trying to be as efficient as possible and make our money kind of multiply there a little bit. But anyway, both great reports.
All right, we've got 3 public hearings later on for Clint Peters, our Director of Development Services, will cover those. I believe we'll have time in the work session for him to cover those. And then your consent agenda has 37 items. I wanted to highlight just a couple. First, Resolution 036, which awards a $10.7 million contract for construction services to TTG Utilities for the long-anticipated Quiet Zone project downtown. You may remember we started work a few years ago on this and had to rescope a couple times, redesign a couple times. But we're very excited that in 2025, in February, council approved construction and maintenance agreements with the UP Railroad, which was a big moment. And then in September, we issued the request for bids. We anticipate construction on this project will be completed by the end of 2027. Which is around the same time that you'll see the Riverwalk completed and a couple other key projects done in the downtown area, with the Quiet Zone taking effect a few months later at some point in 2028. I want to say a special thanks to Charles Least and Infrastructure Services, as well as Paul Kane in the manager's office for keeping this project on track. Come on, Josh. You didn't like that one? Okay, all right. I thought it was pretty good. Also wanted to highlight Resolution 041 and 046, which cover the Bullhide wastewater treatment plant expansion project. That is involves a construction contract over to Graycon for just under $60 million. It's one of the largest contracts you'll award all year long. And of course, that contract will come with a construction phase engineering monitoring project with CDM Smith for an additional $2.3 million. But the main headline here, the project's going to expand Bullhide wastewater treatment capacity from about 4 million gallons a day up to an ultimate capacity of 16 million gallons a day, allowing for additional growth in that key sector of Waco and a couple other jurisdictions. We anticipate this project will last until about spring of 2029. We do have 2 ordinances on your agenda. Both will be covered in the work session presentations this afternoon. And Mayor and Council, that concludes my report. I'll pause for any questions you might have.
Any questions for Bradley on the the agenda today? Just you picked out the same ones that I did on the resolutions. The one that I also want to highlight is number 19, 2026-19, which is another kind of a matching funding for childcare funding worked through the Workforce Commission, which when you start talking about workforce and training and upskilling, there's all these ancillary sort of issues that come up around it. Transportation is another one, and then childcare is right up there too. They all have to kind of fit together. And so happy to see this $1 million all-in funding for childcare services through our Workforce Commission. And yeah, you hit on the Quiet Zone is going to be great. And as more people are downtown, maybe 10 years ago, people didn't really think that much about the Quiet Zone, and hearing the engine blast or the railroad blast I don't know how often it is. But as more people come downtown and we get the revitalization and more people are shopping and eating and drinking and having a good time, that's pretty loud, you know. And I've been downtown for meetings in City Hall and all over the place. So I think this is worthwhile. It'll make downtown even more fun to participate in. And then, yeah, you hit the water, the Bullhide wastewater. It's a $60 million price tag on that. And it's preceded by another water repair job that we have is about $500,000 on the DAF plant. And I think most people know how important that DAF plant is to our water system here in Waco. It basically is the last cleaning process that we go through before it hits the drinking water lines. And that, Bradley, how long ago did we put that in? 15, 20 years ago? You weren't here. I wasn't either.
no,
But it's been more, before we all got on. But as that, who was here when the DAF plant went in?
2007, so coming up on its 20th birthday.
Yeah. So it's, it's solid but it's showing some age, so we're replacing parts of it kind of as we go. There's nothing inexpensive about it. So this is just one of the pumps, or a couple of the pumps that we're replacing, $500,000. So water treatment, and then wastewater lines is number 42. So we're hitting all the different parts of our infrastructure in today's discussion. But that was all I had. Just a lot of good stuff in today's agenda. So with the completion of that, City Manager Ford, we will talk about the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes 2026-011, Resolution 2026-010, and Resolution 2026-012 through Resolution 2026-046. We are also going to pull, because we need some specific language about 2026-013. So are there any other items the council would like to remove from the consent agenda to vote on separately? There are none. So the consent agenda includes 2026-11 and 2026-10 and 2026-013, and then 2026-12 through 46, except for 26-13. So 2026-10 and 2026-13 will be pulled from the agenda and voted on separately. The next item on the agenda is work session items 2026-04 through 2026-07. City Manager Ford, would you please introduce the first work session?
Sure, we've got work session 004. We're going to start off with a discussion of 2025 and prior years fire department services accomplishment statistics and upcoming 2026 priorities. We'll invite Chief Robbie Bergson up to the table. He's actually going to do 2 in a row. And so that's a rarity in these parts. So Robbie, thanks for being here with us today.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure to speak to you today and give you our yearly update for the Waco Fire Department. 2025 was marked with significant improvements in several key areas, including organizational stability, service capacity improvements, and enhanced firefighter safety and community engagement. During 2025, we experienced perhaps our most significant leadership changes in our 152-year history of the department. A new fire chief, 2 new deputy fire chiefs, and a new training officer, all within a very short period. This was about getting the right people on the truck and also in the right seats on the truck. We stabilized leadership, focusing on communications, adjusted the organizational structure to align with current workloads, and improved efficiency, accountability, transparency, and ultimately morale for the department. In March, we placed our 13th engine company in service when we opened Fire Station 15 in Far West Waco, a station that just won a national award for design. We broke ground on Fire Station 4 on LaSalle Avenue and took delivery and placed in service a $646,000 TIFMAS grant-funded tactical tender, which is a water tanker apparatus. Additionally, we placed in service 3 Type 6 engines, or brush trucks. We hired 14 firefighters in 2025, and due to this council's continued support, 3 of those positions were new positions. When we look at our response trends, you can see that post-COVID, we have somewhat stabilized. This was our busiest year on record for the Waco Fire Department, with 23,289 calls for service. I'm happy to report an average response time of 5 minutes and 16 seconds. That's within our goal of 6 minutes and 20 seconds of arriving after a 911 call is received. If there's anything I tell you today, there's nothing more important to me than what you see on the right of the screen, that we had 0 fire fatalities in 2025. And in fact, if we make it till February 23rd, it will be 3 years since we've suffered a loss from fire. Almost unheard of for a city this size and of this age. And that's a testament not only to fire prevention, but the hard work and the training of the firefighters when they arrive at the scene of these fires. Very aggressive in nature. Not only were firefighters busy on the home front, we also answered 9 different requests for statewide deployments to different emergencies. Waco firefighters were among the first state resources to arrive at the tragic July 4th Hill Country floods. Some of our members, working with Texas Task Force 1, have been on rotation, performing the grim task of still searching for people up until just before Christmas, just a month ago. When we look at our overall responses, emergency medical incidents remain the lion's share of what we do. Good intent calls, as you can see, is the second highest percentage at 15%. And those include canceled en route, no emergency found upon arrival, unfounded alarm conditions, investigations that determine no hazard exists, smoke and odor investigations where no fire was located, and public assist that did not involve any type of hazard. A deeper dive in looking at incident response shows some clear trends, such as call volume increases during the daytime hours, really between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m., what we would call our peak hours. And that's in direct correlation of when the city's population swells to over 200,000 during the week. Additionally, it's interesting that the incidents increase in the later part of the week, Wednesday through Saturday, with Thursday being our busiest day of the week. These trends allow us some level of predictability for knowing when our resources may be strained.
Is that people starting to get a little more social as the week gets on? Is that a Friday Junior phenomenon with Thursday?
Ready for the weekend?
It's just what happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and those trends have continued year after year, very solid with those daytime hour calls. So in terms of health and safety, I'm happy to report that this year we were able to increase our cancer screening, working within our yearly annual physicals. This year we were able to add the Gallery test, which tests for 50 different types of cancer for our members, as well as EsoGuard, which is early esophageal cancer screening, which is very important for our members. We also installed over $254,000 of assistance to firefighters grant-funded specialized exhaust filters on our large apparatus, virtually eliminating harmful emissions. And I'd like to pause my presentation just for a moment. And City Manager Ford, I want to personally recognize the contributions that you've made in cancer prevention over the years. Whether it was requesting extractors in the fire stations so we could launder our bunker gear effectively, or purchasing second sets of bunker gear, or the removal of AFFF foam from our department, and additional cancer screening like this. Every time We've asked for your help. You've never told us no. And in fact, this last budget year, you asked me, what would it take for Waco to become the gold standard in cancer prevention of firefighters? And I gave you the information, and we're doing that. We are becoming the gold standard of any fire department across the country in cancer prevention. So again, on behalf of the men and women of the department, I just wanted to publicly acknowledge that. And there's not many fire chiefs that could sit here across the country and say that their boss never said no.
Thanks,
Thank
Chief.
you.
Means a
And
lot.
this council's support, too, of supporting his decisions. It's incredible. Apologize. We also expanded engagement, community engagement with neighborhood associations across Waco with strong focus on community-driven risk reduction in 2025. We partnered closely with the Cameron Park Neighborhood Association to address wildland urban interface risks in and around Cameron Park. We coordinated a multi-agency effort involving the Waco Fire Department, the Texas A&M Forest Service, Public Works, Community Engagement, Parks and Recreation, Encore Energy, and other stakeholders. What did this look like? It looked like conducting early morning hikes on Sunday mornings and doing field assessments to identify fire risk, fuel loading, and access concerns. We organized community cleanup days to remove down brush and reduce hazardous fuels. We facilitated tree trimming and vegetation management around power lines and critical infrastructure. We hosted a first-of-its-kind training class in Texas within the neighborhood, demonstrating trust and partnership, where Governor Greg Abbott attended the training site and held a press conference announcing hundreds of thousands of dollars in statewide funding for firefighters, highlighting how local partnerships make meaningful risk reduction possible. Another area where we've made great strides this past year was getting the word out about our free smoke alarms. And my goal as fire chief, and it may seem lofty, is that every occupied building in the city of Waco, whether a home or a business, has working smoke alarms. Additionally, in October, the city adopted the 2024 International Building Codes, which includes fire codes. Now, working with developmental services and the legal department, we were able to also include enhanced codes above what the base codes require to address the emerging issue of electrical vehicle charging in parking garages, as well as micro-mobility device charging in commercial buildings. Waco is leading the way in taking proactive safety measures. Our future is bright. In 2026, we will open the new Station 4 on LaSalle Avenue. We will take delivery of 5 large fire apparatus, and we will replace our entire inventory of self-contained breathing apparatus, which is the air tanks that you see on our backs. We will conduct a pilot program of lightweight paramedic squads to reduce strain during peak hours, to improve patient care and reduce strain during those peak hours that I mentioned a couple of slides ago. We will continue community engagement and risk reduction efforts through public education, partnerships, and seeking out opportunities to make a difference. We are also excited to work with the Waco Police Department to onboard the public safety psychologist for both agencies that was approved in the budget. Now, you've heard me say it before that the fire department is 100% about helping people 100% of the time. We live that philosophy every day, and because of this council and the city management support, we have a lot of momentum moving forward to continue keeping each resident and visitor safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Bergerson. Any questions for Chief or comments?
Just want to call out, you left off one accomplishment, and likely, to do so would mean maybe offending other city department, but you are the reigning Guns N' Hoses champion, right? That's multiple years running now?
That's correct.
He's trying not to spike the football, or the basketball as it may be.
I was just reminded by the photo of Chief Victorian in the fire regalia there.
That was me, yeah, trolling my public safety.
That was expert level
friend there.
trolling.
But really, I agree wholeheartedly. You know, the most important thing that you communicated today was the 0 fire deaths this year and the trend that we're on right now to be record setting. And, you know, our response times, our crew's expertise, and the continued support of this council and city management to make sure that you guys are outfitted with all that you need to provide the necessary services for safety and response for our community. We're really, really fortunate to have a fire department that we can so often and easily brag on, and that makes us look good, right? And your performance makes it easy for us whenever it comes time to have to make a decision on, hey, do we fund this for fire? Because we have the proof in the pudding here. So I really appreciate the work you guys are doing.
I just have a wondering question. I don't know where we fall. Kendrick Elementary accidentally doing the fire drill. There, do we fall under good intent call or service call? No, with our new building, it's gone off a couple of times, and they're just wonderful. They're there within a few minutes.
That would
And
be
I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
That would be a good intent call.
Good intent.
Chief, thank you for your presentation. And even in all the things that we've done and being proactive in the health and wellness of our members of the fire department, are there any things that are cutting edge that we're looking forward to that we should be preparing for? Other best practices of other cities, anything like that? Because I know we try to stay on top of making sure that you all have everything you need. And, you know, with the city management team and with this council, you know, we've kind of been really intentional about that, at least since I've served. But, you know, just looking forward, is there anything that's next?
There's, I'm sure, quite a few things. We stay on top of almost all of the trends nationwide. Technology is evolving at such a fast pace that we'll bring those forward
As they come?
when we have them. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, I mean, I know that that's what we do, and we punch above our weight in most things, and I say that with all the bias in my heart. But, you know, just wanting to make sure that there wasn't anything left. I mean, I continue to applaud the diversification of our ranks and how we're advancing more young people, more women, more people of color in these public safety roles, you know. So just if there's some lookout, something that somebody's doing, you know, and we'll keep our eyes open as we, you know, engage with other communities and stuff, but we want to stay on top of that.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I, you know, kind of coming to the end of my journey here at the city, and so thinking about a lot of progress being made under Chief's leadership and the team's leadership in fire, but when I got to Waco, you'll recall some of this, and Mayor as well, our apparatus condition was in horrible shape. And we've made so much progress. The reality, though, is it's been a few years since we started that work. It's going to have to get continued in the coming years. And so the bill's going to come due on those primary units that move into secondary. You have to keep that pressure on the apparatus replacement plan, and that'll be a significant budget impact down the road. But Chief Bergeson, kind of the original author of the apparatus replacement strategy, and so I know he'll keep it front and center. But that's something to keep on your minds as a council. That will not be inexpensive.
What's the life expectancy?
15 years.
Of the apparatus, let me be clear.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, okay. Yeah, just, I was thinking that Bradley, as you were saying that, we've gotten pretty creative in these last 8, 10 years since, I guess, Andre and I have been around the longest here, but, because you're leasing some, you're looking for good financing terms, and you're looking for just a way to upgrade our apparatus and our fire trucks, for lack of a better term, in the most economic way possible. So I appreciate the creativity. New fire stations in 15 and 4, that's in 4. When is that going to be ready? By the end of the year? Or when is 4 going to be finished?
It should be in fall.
Okay, cool. 5 new fire trucks coming on their way this year, 14 new firefighters, no fire fatalities in 3 years. That's a great report. One thing that you brought up is the Kerrville. You kind of didn't make a big deal out of it, which is typical. You guys don't like to brag on stuff, and I just want to brag a little bit on you, because when that happened on July 4th, the next day I was talking to the Kerrville mayor, and right after I talked to him, I called, I think it was either you or Ryan, or Assistant City Manager Holt, and you guys were already on it. I mean, you already plugged into the statewide emergency system. I think you had a couple guys down there, and you had apparatus ready to go. So that just speaks, well, not only for what you do in Waco, but what you do statewide is pretty amazing. One thing that, again, when I talk about fire, our Waco Fire Department, I always talk about the ISO 1 rating. So it's another thing you didn't talk about today, which is really one of the top 2 or 3 things I think going on, which you didn't bring up. And at some point, I'd like, because what the ISO rating is, for those of you that are tuning in, it's if you have that HIVA rating, which is based on where your fire stations are, how quickly you respond, and just really the quality of your fire department. And we have the highest rating in the United States in the ISO. It's an ISO 1 rating. And what that does, if you have an ISO 1 rating, I think it's every citizen or every homeowner gets a break on their insurance rates. So it would be interesting to me, and I don't know if we can do this or not, figure out what the rate would insurance be with the ISO 1 and without the ISO 1. How much gross dollars are we saving the citizens of Waco in that equation? George, do you have that calculated? That's millions of dollars. Anyway, all right, anyway, well, I'll follow up with you on that. But just that rating amongst all the other things you're doing here. Plus, I will say, Chief Victorian looks good in blue, but she looks good in red there too. It's pretty amazing.
She's getting used to it, apparently.
All right, that's all I've got. Any other questions on this one? That concludes work session 4. City Manager Ford, you introduce the next speaker on work session 5.
Yeah, well, Robbie's going to stay with us for a minute. On 005, it's a discussion of adoption of third-party fire and life safety inspection, testing, and maintenance reporting through a new software called Inspection Reports Online. This is a third-party tool that Chief would like to pursue. It's actually on your agenda tonight, as well as Resolution 051 as an improvement program that'll help on third-party inspection. So I want Chief to work through that and explain it to you and see if you had any questions. Chief?
And we're back. All right, good afternoon. I'll be presenting a proposal to amend the ordinance to allow the Waco Fire Department to adopt third-party inspection, testing, and maintenance reporting through Inspection Reports Online. With over 6,900 commercial occupancies and around 1,300 with fire protection systems, it is difficult to ensure that these systems are operational and in compliance. Because of this, systems can go unchecked, sometimes for years at a time, falling between the cracks. And as other communities have seen, this can lead to significant property loss and potentially jeopardize lives in the event of a fire. Additionally, we use a paper-based system for reporting compliance from the companies that do these inspections, which is slow and inefficient. If approved, using a third-party online portal for reporting will do 3 things. It will, 1, make the community safer, 2, make maintaining compliance for fire protection systems easier for businesses, and 3, improve efficiencies within the fire department. We're requesting authorization for the fire marshal to require all inspection, testing, and maintenance reports for fire and life safety systems to be submitted through a third-party online portal. This shift will improve the initial compliance and make it easier for businesses to correct deficiencies, document repairs, and modernize record keeping. Ultimately, we will see more functioning systems, fewer false alarms, and better community safety, all at no cost to the city. Each year, by using this model, compliance inevitably improves. And on average, after just a few years, most cities improve to nearly 90% compliance. Currently, our paper and email reports slow enforcement and delay fixes. Much reporting is on the honor system, and we can only identify problems by actual site visits. Third-party portals standardize data, automate notices, and provide dashboards so that we can target the highest risk occupancies. Many Texas cities use third-party inspection portals to raise compliance and reduce workload. Some of those cities include Austin, Fort Worth, Denton, San Marcos, Victoria, Sherman, Murphy, McKinney, and Stafford, just to name a few. Similar to what our own inspection services is already doing with their virtual inspections, which can be used on any device, anywhere, saving time and streamlining the inspection process. Our proposal streamlines the report submission process across all devices without any downloads. Our staff is challenged to keep up with the workload, and this third-party approach has been described as a game changer by more than one city that we've talked with. There are likely fire protection systems that have never been reported. This approach will give us better visualization of the problem so we can address it. The information from inspections and reporting, because it's online, is available also in real time to responding firefighters, allowing them to make better decisions. And what you're looking at, the picture there is a sprinkler head, several sprinkler heads that we recently found during an inspection that was 75 years old, and it's completely caked in dirt and grime, which won't likely operate correctly. A couple of other examples. In the past, we've discovered a large 6-story occupied office building with an inoperable sprinkler system for over 2 years. We've also recently encountered a fire department connection, or FDC, with a later installed gas meter blocking access to where we would hook up our hoses to supply the system. These are the types of problems that we're trying to address. As the fire chief, whose responsibility is community safety, knowing that systems are out there that may not operate as they should are the kinds of things that keep me up at night.
Is that Burgermeister Meisterburger?
It is. And this was supposed to be just before Christmas, if you recall.
Okay. There we go.
It still plays.
It does.
So in terms of workflow, a licensed provider would complete the inspection, testing, or maintenance and submit the reports through inspection reports online portal. The inspection reports online portal then the inspection reports online then validates the required fields and routes the information to the fire department's dashboard. Deficiencies are categorized and tracked. Owners receive automatic notices, and the owners can upload proof of the correction themselves. We verify the correction and the loop is closed. Now, there's a $36 submittal fee per report, with $10 of that being an administrative fee to the city of Waco. That $10 is significantly lower than many Texas cities, with 17 on the low end of the ones that we contacted and 30 being on the high end. Moving forward, we'll be bringing an ordinance for individual consideration this evening due to the presentation being pushed back from December. We are already collaborating with communications and marketing on a messaging strategy. We also plan to meet with fire protection service companies to ensure that they fully understand the new requirements and process, and to update information on our website accordingly. We aim for full implementation on June 1st of this year. What you are looking at in the picture is something that McKinney has done, which is placing educational decals on fire protection systems so that the fire alarm companies are reminded of the new method to submit the report, and offers a QR code so that they can easily do so. In short, this change is about requiring the online submission of reports, making the process easier, increasing safety, and enhancing efficiencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Bergerson. Any comments or questions on this report?
I have a quick question. Chief, thank you very much. So the initial inspection test, that's just done by the fire alarm company, same as they would always do?
That's correct.
And are those annual or?
Many of them are annual. There's an initial and then annual.
Thanks.
Any other comments? Really appreciate this, Chief Bergerson, and it reflects what we're all trying to do here in the city is continuous improvement in systems and processes, and I love the intentional reflection on how you guys looked at the workflow process and asked yourself, how can we make this better? And going from paper-based to a software system, just it's best all the way around as far as efficiency, improved record keeping, and ultimately safer, as you pointed out. So I appreciate the work you guys have done on this in this endeavor. You do pronounce it eye roll, right? Which
So I was told to
when
avoid
I think when you guys we had the preliminary, you guys started talking about eye roll, and I just oh man, we're talking about the eye roll, which is not.
It was recommended that I not use eye roll
You did good
in the presentation.
You did good there. I brought it up. So no, I appreciate the report. Thanks. Any other questions? Anything else we need to cover, City Manager Ford? Thanks, Chief. The next work session item is 2026-006. We're going to talk about the 2026 COs.
That's correct. We've actually, on work session 06, we've got several folks coming up to the table. We've got Blue Kostlitz, our ACM/Chief Financial Officer, as well as Colin Booth, our Managing Director of Finance, both the staff members. And then from a consulting team standpoint, we've got Blake Roberts coming up, Managing Director of PFM Financial Advisors, and Esther Young, Managing Director of Tianara Financial Consulting. And if any of them mess up, we have Glenn Opal in the audience if needed. So he's back there as backup. But we've got a great team here working on your 2026 CIP, and I look forward to Blue kicking us off.
Thank you, City Manager Ford. Mayor Council, good to be with you today. Discuss the last step in our annual debt issuance process. So if you recall, the entire process we do is when we're putting the budget together, we'll come to you in the budget retreat, start talking about the CIP projects that we want to get done and how those are going to be financed or cash funded. Come back to you in August and September as we solidify that plan, present that budget to you. Once that budget is adopted, we start moving forward with those CIP projects. And Mayor Council, this is the last step in the actual debt issuance process, like I said. So as we look forward to this, we go through this presentation, and then there will be an ordinance later on called the Parameters Ordinance that will authorize us to actually make the transition and sell this debt on behalf of the city of Waco. So for now, what we're going to go through, I'm going to turn it over to Colin to go through some of the CIP, what we actually adopted in the budget to be debt financed. We always want to look at the debt analysis and the utility rate structure, see how this impacts us. And then we're going to have Blake Roberts go through the plan of finance.
Great, thank you, Blue. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So this is the 2026 CIP sources and uses, excuse me. Is this working here? Okay, there we go. Thank you, sorry about that. So these are our sources and uses for our CIP. This is basically the breakdown of the different projects that are going to make up this 2026 CO debt issuance. And I'm just going to give a high-level overview here. So The first project on the list is Fire Station number 8 design. That's about $1.1 million. We've got, under the Bridge and Street Program, we've got bridge reconstruction at about $6.5 million. And the Better Streets Waco program, which is reconstruction and rehabilitation, $34.2 million for a total of $40.7 million. When we look at the Cottonwood Creek Golf Course projects, there are actually 2 drainage projects out there at the golf course. Those total $2.912 million. And then finally, when we look at our enterprise utility system debt, which is our wastewater, water, and WMARS debt, that's totaling $55,675,000. That is $10.4 million for wastewater, $36,275,000 for water, and wanted to highlight the west side of the lake water project there. That's one that you all have heard about in the past. And then the Waco metro area sewer system projects, $9 million total there, for a total of $55,675,000. So the total deposit to the construction fund is $100,365,403. And as Blue was mentioning earlier, these projects were presented to the City Council back during our budget presentation in August, and then they were adopted as a part of our operating and CIP budget back in September. And then when I presented the notice of issuance presentation back on November 4th, these are basically the same projects that were discussed back then, and there were no changes to these projects as they were presented to the City Council.
While we have a little pause there, the WMARS, the source of repayment is through the WMARS kind of partnership with all the other cities, right? It's not coming straight from the city. So there's, okay, good. But where the first category of wastewater is all City of Waco, the WMARS is the.
That's correct.
The partnership, okay.
Through those specific revenue sources is the way we will pay these back. Mayor, that gets into the overall debt profile. You know, you lead into that, and I appreciate this. Anytime we're about to issue debt, where we are having debt up as an item for your consideration, we want to be thoughtful through this process. We want to make sure that we are using our dollars efficiently and effectively for the residents. So anytime we're looking at this, we're going to look at our overall debt profile and how that fits into what we are doing. So as of today, debt profile on the city, this is your total principal outstanding. Over there on the left, 2026, you have just over $1 billion of debt outstanding. That's broken up by general debt, which is the general debt is the one that is property tax backed. Then everything else above that on those stacks is all a specific revenue source from the use of those specific systems. So your water, your wastewater, solid waste drainage, and then the revenues derived from growth in the tax increment funds. So right there, sitting there at $1 billion, you see the good cascade. That's your amortization as debt rolls off. This is what we have in as of today. With the issuance, you know, that right around that $100 million mark, you will go up to $1.1 billion, and you'll see that the two that have increased are the general debt and the water and wastewater. So again, the general debt, that is built into the tax rates. So that is part of the tax rate that our homeowners and our businesses will pay. And then the water and wastewater will come through the use of those systems. We always want to be mindful, I mean, looking at this in a vacuum on one issuance within the city of Waco, just at one given moment, it doesn't tell us exactly everything that we need to know. So what we always want to do is look at it on two different metrics. And these are the metrics that we've started using here, the debt per capita, and seeing a peer comparison to make sure that we're on track with similar cities. As far as that is concerned, you know, what we're projecting in for 2025 and 2026 on our numbers, these are unaudited numbers. This is what we're estimating those to be on that 2026 after this issuance. We won't have any of our peer city information until we'll have 2025, probably in about April, once everybody, every other city posts their ACFR. we'll be able to go through and do the 2025 analysis, but we will not have 2026 until 2027, when those ACFRs are produced. So what we've done here is we've taken our numbers, what we expect them to be, and just compared to the 2024, the last known averages that we have. And you can see Waco on the left chart, Waco debt per capita, sitting right at that $2,000 per cap, going to be consistent through 2025, and then going up to 2,207, still below the peer average of $2,363. And you can see on the right how all of those cities break out and where we stand compared to our comparable cities.
Blue, is that just for, is that overall debt, including utilities, or is that just the city, the category of?
These are just the property tax back debt.
Okay, got it.
So these, because every city has different systems and different sources of revenues and
It's
how they
apples and
differ.
oranges at that point, but this is all core city services. Okay.
That's correct. This is core city services. That's the cleanest way we can compare city to city.
Great slide right there.
And then on the debt per taxable value, so you think about the taxable value of the city as a whole, that's all of your assets. And so we're saying, you know, how much debt is it taking us to take care of all of our assets that we have compared to our peer cities? And again, you know, if you see and carry that peer city average of 2.02% through, the city of Waco in 2024, 25, and 26, staying about that 1.6 down to 1.54 and 1.55%. So still, even with this issuance in 2026 and what we issued in 2025, still staying below our peer averages. So as far as metrics are concerned, we're right where we need to be. We're keeping up with some of the maintenance that really needs to be done on the systems in order to provide that quality service that our residents need. As far as utility rate impacts, now these are the ones that are specific to water and wastewater. We go through this process every single year. So the FY26 rates that we have in place today with this issuance will not change. In fiscal year 27 through fiscal year 2032, what we have in those rate studies, those models that we have, you know, we plug in this plus all the future debt issuances that we have planned out, all the CIP throughout those planning years, and that helps us determine what rates are going to be needed for our water, wastewater, solid waste drainage, and our street maintenance fee. This is the plan that we have in place today. So fiscal year 26, again, these rates are going to be able to pay for the debt that we are issuing today once approved. And then fiscal year 27, 28, 29 continues to bring on the additional CIP throughout. And you can see what we've done is tried to make this a gradual increase for our users. So you're looking at fiscal year 27 through 2032, averaging just over $5 per month increases for all of the maintenance that is needed to be done within those utility systems. That's an average of about 3% growth per year in the average customer's bill, which we've always tried to keep right alongside the rate of inflation. So with this rate of increase, we're keeping that about that 3%.
And then Blue, on this slide, are we assuming, maybe you said this, are we assuming future CO activity within the utilities in this model, or is this just saying this is?
This is with additional COs in the future. So you're looking at, in fiscal year 27, 28, somewhere around that $40 to $50 million of CIP. 29 and 30 comes down a little bit to about 30, 35 million. 2031 is where you see a little bit of a bump up to about 60 to 70 million based upon some projects that we have coming on in the CIP in fiscal year 2031.
So it continues to average in that 50-ish million a year across.
It does, about that amount. But
still-
again, we only adopt 1 year at a time.
Yeah.
So the future years are still projections, and those can always change in every single budget cycle.
But I like showing it this way instead of just assuming that we don't ever do anything again and, you know, theoretically, we have an entire, we continue to have to spend, and we'll talk about that at the end of the deal. I mean, we've got, what, $3 billion worth of projects, and we got to kind of meter them in 50 100 million at a time. But yeah, this is a great slide, Blue.
Mayor, Council, I'm going to pause here. I'm going to turn over to Blake to go through the plan of finance for this specific issuance.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. Blake Roberts with PFM Financial Advisors. We're a co-financial advisor to the city. With me is Esther Young with T. Arena Financial. Esther gave a substantially similar version of this presentation a couple of months ago with a notice of intent, so I'll do my best to keep up with her. We'll be efficient here. So here's an overview of what we're up to execute on this bond plan of finance. So authorizing you, or asking you to authorize up to 110 million of certificates of obligation. That's just an extra 10 million of cushion at the time of planning in case there were additional projects that were added or changed between now and pricing. To fund citywide capital improvements. Tax exempt bonds, this is all tax exempt debt. Issuance of COs will take place pretty quickly this year, towards the end of February. We are scheduled to meet with Moody's and S&P next week. You have ratings of AA1 and AA+. Those are the second highest bond ratings possible. So it continues to be a testament to the management of City from a both personnel standpoint and the embedded financial policies and procedures that City Council and staff operate under. They really evaluate closely how cities are managed, and so kudos to the city for these strong bond ratings. Other factors are reserves, economic resource base, and debt levels. So key dates, November 4th is already passed. That was a notice of intent to issue COs. That started the 45-day petition period for this issuance. We're now here today with the approval of the bond sale via what's called the parameters order that gives us the corners to go out and issue debt. And then February 25th is the approximate pricing date at which we will lock in interest rates, and then we'll close on or about March the 19th. Your co-municipal advisors, PFM and T. Arena, Bond Counsel Glenn Opal is here with Bracewell. And then after talking with Blue and Colin, we'll sell these bonds via negotiated bond sale. And earlier this year, we worked with the city to put together sort of a pre-approved underwriter list. And so the group of banks that we've picked for this syndicate, or group of investment banks that will sell your debt, we're really happy with. It's two sort of very prominent Wall Street banks, Wells Fargo and Bank of America, and two very prominent sort of minority-owned banks, Cabrera and Siebert Williams Shank. So excited about the group we've picked to go out into market at the end of February with these bonds. Overview of
Blake,
rates.
on that slide, just right quick. When you talked about the bond ratings, you're going to Moody's and Standard & Poor's over the next couple of weeks. When will we know if our ratings have been affirmed?
Second week of February, if not sooner than that.
So if that's available at the next council meeting, can you let us know? Because that's super important. And then on those, I'm sorry, I don't want to digress here too far, but on the Peer City report, can you just pencil in what those cities' credit ratings are too? As long as we're doing that peer comparison, I want to be aware of that.
Yeah, we can
I'm
do
sorry,
that.
Blake, go ahead.
Yeah, no, good questions. Overview of tax exempt rates. Again, this is a 10-year look-back period. I won't prognosticate on where rates are going. I think we have seen an increase in yields over the last certainly 3 or 4 years since the Fed first raised rates, has since begun to cut. Different interpretations of what the market will do this year. I think we're probably faced with a steepening yield curve. Short-term rates may or may not budge down depending on what the Fed does. Long-term 10, 20, 30-year spot rates may stay where they are or move up just a tick. We'll get to where we estimate your rates are today later on in this presentation. Another sort of view on interest rates, this is what's called the yield curve. So we're selling bonds in years 1 through 20. So it isn't a single rate, but it's based on where we amortize principal. And so the blue line is where the yield curve is today. You can see short-term rates have come down from a year ago. The long-term rates are actually up a little bit during that same period. A recap of what Colin already discussed, which is a big picture view of the projects that are being authorized for the CO. Again, the project fund deposit will be $100.3 million. The 110 was just in the event that there were projects added by City Council. Here is an overview of pro forma debt balances after this issuance. So we do break the debt balances out by repayment source. So a focus has been on tax-supported, for example. That balance is $302.5 million as of today. Proposed in this 2026 CO is $44.7 million of additional tax-supported COs, bringing that balance to $347 million. And so you can see what that will look like kind of by repayment source, pre-issuance, and then with this CO added on, what that does to the different enterprise system debt and tax-supported debt.
And on this slide, Blake, when do our payments normally come in? How much principal pay down do we have in 2026 off that 1056? Or is that reflected in that number?
We do show the principal pay down in a few slides
Okay.
by each fund. And,
Good, thanks.
Yeah. So here's illustrated financing results if we were to price bonds today. These are actually rates as of early in January 6th or so. We've seen a couple of weeks of improvement in rates, and then today the market went against us. There's lots of global economic factors and news coming out of Washington, D.C. that is influencing kind of movement in rates. These are all 20-year amortizing bonds, average life of about 12.2 years. Again, assuming a AA1, AA+, all-in true interest cost is at 3.99%. That wasn't on purpose. This isn't a $1.99 sort of sales pitch here. I ran those numbers several times, and that was the actual rate that we came up with. So could be plus or minus 25 to 50 basis points, just depending upon pricing. But we will still be under 5%, kind of based on current rates today, and probably closer to 4. We'll price this with a 10-year optional par call. All that means is that for 10 years, we're locked into this debt, and then at year 10, you have the right to redeem or refinance those bonds at lower rates.
And that's kind of market, right?
That is very much
Lockout on
market.
Municipal.
We may get to the pricing day, and there's a 9-year call that doesn't cost the city much to bake in, and we'll consider that, but we'll be 9 or 10-year par call.
I think about that every once in a while. I guess you could pay it off if you bought a hedge that matched the interest rate for the 10 years, or, and I'm always into refining the debt, but I guess you can't even consider it for.
Yeah, there are certainly variable rate instruments that are out there that will sort of get at what you're trying to do, which is sort of the penultimate flexibility. There are swaps, et cetera, but those are sort of bad words in Waco, and I don't want to
Okay, sorry I brought that
go
up.
there. So here's an overview of your existing bond principal payments by repayment type. So Mayor, to your question, you can see each year by principal how much is being paid down every year. So in 2026, for example, there's $276.8 million in debt on the water system. You'll pay off $14 million of that this year.
So all in, we pay that principal down by 385.
That's right.
All right.
On both the enterprise supported and the tax supported requirements.
And remind me, is that third quarter where we pay all those bonds down, or is that second quarter, first quarter? Okay.
It's February 1st and August 1st.
Okay, thanks.
So we'll do a principal and interest on February 1st, interest only August 1st.
Right.
So here's an overview of the bond and going out into the market in a couple of weeks. Again, it's water, sewer, and tax-supported principal requirements. And for this purpose, we did include some of the golf course projects in the tax-supported piece, although those will be self-supported by golf course revenue. That being said, you can see kind of the contemplated principal repayment structure on the bonds. The principal payments increase each year, you'll notice that, but this is like a mortgage payment. So your debt service payments, if you think about adding on interest, will be level, but that's why you see increasing principal in the same way you have a mortgage where you're paying off more principal the longer out you go on the loan. And then all this combined, existing bond payments plus the new bond payments after we close on these bonds in March, you can see kind of the pro forma or the future principal pay down on each repayment source. This is all in graphical form. So here's a graphic of the debt service paid back by debt service taxes specifically. And the brown bars are existing. The green is the new tax-supported bond payments layered on top of that. Again, this is all focused on principal. Here's total principal, both tax-supported payments and enterprise fund-supported payments. So here's the timeline. We went over this a little bit, but January 20th is today. We're asking you for parameters approval of the bond sale. We will anticipate pricing in the end of February and closing March 19th. The parameters order does give us flexibility in the event there's a significant market disruption or we get word that there's a lot of other bond supply that week and it may be better to sit and wait. We can come back and do that. This is the best guess of the game plan today, and barring big changes in the market, what we'll try to stick to. And then again, an overview of your bond ratings. Again, just tremendous job by the city to maintain these strong bond ratings. Credit positives are a strong and growing economy, well-managed financial operations, and strong reserves. And then there are two sort of quick considerations. One is just the absolute debt levels, and then two, sort of weaker socioeconomic indices, given just sort of the demographic picture of Waco with the big university and big student base here. And so those are the credit rating factors here. We do believe those will be stable this go-around. And one thing we have been able to do is take care to proactively communicate the city's capital plan. So this amount of bond debt that we're seeking to be approved today will not be a surprise to Moody's nor S&P. They ask for a 5-year CIP every time we meet with them, and Blue and Colin have done a really good job of sort of laying out what's coming down the pike. So we do believe that we'll have stable rating outcomes with these meetings. Happy to answer questions. That is our presentation of kind of the game plan for the bond financing efforts over the next month and a half.
Any comments or questions for the finance team?
Quick question. Do we know what they're using for peer cities? Because we're showing our peer cities to be that we're below them on average, and they're showing that we have elevated debt compared to our peer cities.
Yeah, that's a great question. So they use a database of every city in the country that they assign bond ratings to. And we had this conversation quite a bit because Texas bond issuers tend to have higher levels of debt than other types of cities. There's a lot that goes into that, demographics, how we're funded, we're not funded at the state level, and sort of property taxes and how that all works. So when they say Waco has higher debt, that is a common thread among many AA+ and even AAA clients that we have. We work with cities of Austin and Fort Worth that are very, very high bond ratings, a common ding for them as well. So it's just sort of how Texas issuers are graded compared to somebody, say, in Illinois, where they may have a much different challenge, which is a pension issue, for example, that we don't hear. So there's different factors that go into kind of the national database of ratings, but great pickup on that, but it is sort of national peers.
Good info. Thanks.
Any other questions? Yeah, this is great presentation, and thank you for answering my questions there. And if we talked about this, like every time we issue debt, we talk about all of the backed up projects that we have, and we have to be super selective about what we can afford in any given year and how it matches, an old banker's term, match useful life to the debt of what you can spread. So if you have a 20-year asset or 25-year asset, it makes sense, particularly when rates are relatively lower than they have been in the last 20 years, to go ahead and figure out that match of the useful life. And I see most of this is, again, is long-term water. A big portion of it is water, and another big portion is streets, and that's what our citizens and residents are wanting to make sure we keep the streets in good shape. And I know even though we're doing this and can't take care of the whole $3 billion, we got to be mindful of what that debt load and capacity looks like in future years. So I think this is a nice balance that we've struck here, and we'll see results in better streets and better water and better wastewater and infrastructure across the board and drainage. And they've got $1 million in there for a fire station too, so that's good. But great work, and I'm hope the interest rates will come down over the next 30 days, and we somehow snag into that 3% would be great to get a 3 handle on this, and also make sure hopefully that the rating stays where it's at, because that's super important on execution. But thanks, good presentation. I think our last work session is 2026-07, and that's public, or planning public hearing items.
We've got Clint Peters coming up, Director of Development Services, and hopefully for a short briefing this afternoon.
Thank you, Bradley, Mayor, City Council. We just have the 3 public hearings this evening. We have 2 zoning cases and 1 abandonment. The first one, case 47, this is an abandonment of an alley, portion of an alley between 5th and 6th Street. It's actually a named alley called Barron's Alley. This is adjacent to the old Uptown Motel that has been recently raised and purchased by Waco Methodist Home. That's going to be redeveloped for a housing project for alumni students and young adults through their program. And so they're wanting to incorporate that portion of the alley into the property to develop. You can see here the portion of the alley off 5th Street that would be abandoned. They own either side of the alley. There'll be a portion of the alley that remains and that provides access to this small office building, and that property owner is in support of the abandonment. And then you can see here, this is their proposed site plan. Again, this upper portion would be the abandoned part. This portion would remain for access to this property. And you can see some of the concept for the redevelopment of the site. And then here's just a picture of that portion of the alley. This is the old Uptown Motel site here. Plan Commission did recommend approval, 11-0 to abandon it. It does provide opportunity to develop that property. There are a couple of conditions dealing with utility easements or relocation of utilities. And then once the property's all platted, they'll have to abide by all the fire access requirements for the new development. The next public hearing is an amendment to the Callan Village PUD to make some minor changes to their plan to allow an area about 4.5 acres that's currently designated as commercial to allow it to be either commercial or multifamily flex. And then to amend the PUD narrative, updating multifamily definition to include options for a townhouse style development. This is the Callan Village development off Ritchie Road. It's mainly single family developing, but it does have a small component of commercial and multifamily along Ritchie Road. You can see here the areas we're talking about is this 4.5 acre here that is currently designated for commercial, and it would be again a flex commercial or multifamily. The areas adjacent to the single family would remain multifamily, and then the site requirements for that multifamily would not change. So your densities, your setbacks, heights, and all that would stay the same that there currently are. And then here you can see those. So the densities would stay the same. It already allows 15 units an acre. That would stay the same. And then the height is 1 or 2 stories at 35 feet, and then setbacks, impervious covers, all that would stay the same. We did mail out over 230 notices on that and just had 2 returned and had a couple of speakers at the Plan Commission. And that was our main concern is what would the development standards on the multifamily be that are adjacent to the single family. And again, none of that is changing with this change. So Plan Commission did recommend approval 10-0, and again, just our standard findings for approval. And then we do have conditions that they'll have to follow with their final plan and subdividing before building permits.
It seems like Clint Holmes here, it seemed like this one had a lot of community dialogue going on, because this one was in Plan Commission for quite a while, and there was diverging opinions on what they should do. And so I appreciate, it looks like they came up with a good solution. It was kind of a quasi buffer zone there where they have the multifamily and pushing that commercial over. So it looks like where there was a lot of opposition, or very early on, that we
right.
came up with some points of agreement there.
Yep. And then our last zoning change is a property on Washington Avenue, 2120 Washington Avenue. This is a zone change from C2 community commercial to O3, which is a limited mixed-use district. This is a existing single-family residence on Washington in that area that's transitioned from downtown over to the Austin Avenue neighborhood. That's a mix of offices and residential uses. The current zoning C2, you can see there is some properties that have been transitioning more to office. This would actually bring the existing home into conformance. With the zoning ordinance, the single-family home is actually legal non-conforming in the existing C2. So this brings it into conformance with our zoning ordinance.
That whole strip of Washington there from 18th to, I don't know, 26, 27.
Yeah,
There's like lots of legal non-conforming.
That's right.
Mixed-use stuff in there, right? And it seems like one by one, we've kind of brought them into legal conformance, but they were just, you know, they were that way when we zoned them, when they overlaid the zoning that didn't fit.
That's correct. We had, back in the 80s, we had cumulative zoning where if you had C2, you could, everything below it was allowed. And then in 86, we switched over to more of a use-based zoning. And so you had a lot of legal non-conforming zoning in these older areas of town. You can see it's transition. All this purple area have been zoning changes over the last 10, 15 years, with more to that mixed-use zoning. And this is a similar case. And here's the existing home here. No opposition to this one, and Plan Commission recommended approval, 11-0. And that's all we have.
Great, thanks, Clint. Any questions for Clint on those? I guess we chimed in as they went along. Thanks.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, anything else? City Manager Ford in the work session?
No, sir.
All right. The next item is work session 2026-08. Council comments on items of community interest and requests for future agenda items. Are there any requests for future agenda items?
Yeah, Mayor and staff, I'd love if sometime in one of the February meetings, by chance, we could get a presentation on our COLA for our retirees, and I know we have the data on what it would take financially to get to the next step up for repeating COLA, being that 50% repeating COLA, but I would love if we could have a presentation and sort of an ongoing discussion on over the next X amount of years, what it would take and what it would take away from to give us sort of a real-time decision to be able to make on if that's something that we want to prioritize and fund.
We'll make that happen.
Appreciate it.
So noted. Any other future agenda items? There being none there, we will now recess the work session and reconvene the regular session for executive session as read into the record by the city secretary at 4:30 p.m.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council will go into executive session in accordance with the following provisions. Real property, Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Section 551.072, and attorney briefing, Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, downtown development project being the mixed-use development on city-owned and adjacent properties near City Hall. Attorney briefing, Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, discussion of the master development agreement and tax increment financing agreement approved on September 20th, 2022 via resolution numbers 2022-700 and 2022-701 respectively between the city and Floyd Casey 1 LLC and personnel, Texas Open Meetings, Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, and potential attorney briefing, Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, discussion regarding the appointment of a city manager and a contract of employment authority in accordance with the city charter, Article 5. We are now in executive session.